Let's see, some of my favorite dopamine hits. New leaf growth on one of my plants. Seeing a dog, literally any dog. A new blemish-free pair of white shoes. And a totally reconciled budget. Yeah, that's nice. So, you've seen that little reconcile button up in the corner of your budget for a while now, but you never knew, like, what is that? The other half of you know what it is, but have always silently wondered to yourself if you're doing it right, yeah? Yeah. I knew it. Well, today we're gonna walk through a hugely pivotal step to the budgeting process, and that is a reconciliation. Kicking off for those who literally Googled this because they had no idea what it was, what in the world is reconciliation in YNAB anyway? Sounds dramatic. To put it in the simplest words possible, in YNAB, reconciliation is the process of making sure all of your transactions and balances at your bank are in agreement with your transactions and balances in your budget. You're putting one up against the other and making sure they agree line for line. Now, why is this so important? When we make our budgets, we're making a spending plan for our lives based on the money we have. And ideally, once the budget is made, we use this budget as our source of truth to determine how we make our spending decisions, not our bank account. If my bank account says I have $10,000 in it, but my budget somehow says I have $11,000 in it, I'm gonna end up budgeting $1,000 I literally just don't have, and then believing I have $1,000 more to spend than I really do. That is a bad situation right there. So reconciling is a non-negotiable for a trustworthy and reliable budget. Now, what would actually happen that would make my budget get out of sync with my bank account? There's a handful of different scenarios, and they can all be very sneaky and under the radar, just to name a few. Maybe you enter a transaction, but you accidentally record it as an inflow instead of an outflow, or vice versa. If you leave your bank accounts unlinked in YNAB, you can easily forget to add in a transaction or add the same one twice without realizing it. Maybe you forgot you added on a last-minute tip at the restaurant last night and your bill was actually $10 higher than you recorded it in YNAB, or you literally just flub your fingers on your tiny iPhone keyboard and enter a transaction for $10.87 as $10.57 instead. And sometimes we record a transaction accurately, but we record it to the wrong account, like our checking account instead of our credit card. Or you and your partner don't communicate about who's entering the tax refund into the budget, and now your budget thinks you're rolling about twice as high as you actually are. And honestly, sometimes direct import just messes up. I don't know, I guess robots aren't perfect either. So as you can see, it doesn't really matter how on top of the budget you are. Sometimes things just happen and an error slips into the budget without us even knowing. This is why we reconcile, to catch those mistakes before we believe an inaccurate budget for too long. Now, how often should we be reconciling? Question of the ages. To give you a totally generic, non-satisfactory answer, the more often you can reconcile, the better. Some people feel comfortable reconciling once a month. Others reconcile every week or every other week. I personally get some weird, unexplainable rush from it, so I reconcile every other day or so. But if you're still like, that's really not helpful, give me a real answer, Hannah, let me be vague and non-granular in another way. The longer you go without reconciling your budget to your bank accounts, the more room and time you're allowing for an error to occur or balances to get out of sync with each other. So if I'm reconciling every other day like I do, there's only a 48-hour window that something could get off in my budget and lead to inaccurate numbers. Not to mention, how many transactions actually come through your bank in 48 hours? Not many. Which, you'll see in a bit, leads to a much lighter reconciliation session and process. Not to mention, there's a greater chance you'll actually remember what all those transactions were for 3 weeks down the road. Different story. What? I don't even remember going to Target, said no one ever. But if I'm only reconciling once a month, that's 30 whole days that you could potentially be making spending decisions based on an inaccurate budget and just have no idea. I don't want to operate off of potentially inaccurate information for 30 days. That is way too risky for me. I'm an edgy person. And now guess what? In order to find that error, whatever it may be, and fix it, you're gonna have to sort through 30 whole days worth of bank transactions until you find that error. And that's likely gonna take a heck of a lot longer than it would to sort through just a couple days worth or even a week's worth of transactions. That's why I like to do it every few days, but you may develop a different routine or rhythm, like reconciling on payday or every Sunday afternoon when your kids take their nap. There's not really a right or wrong answer as as long as reconciling is happening for you on a roughly routine basis. So now it comes down to the actual process. What does it literally look like to reconcile? Well, there's kind of two different ways it can look based on whether you've chosen to link your bank accounts in YNAB or leave them unlinked. For those who have chosen to link your bank accounts to YNAB via direct import, the process can actually be quite simple. You can just start by clicking Reconcile in the upper right corner. If the pop-up looks like this is a great sign. What's happened here is YNAB has pulled in your most recent balance at the bank and plopped it right up against your cleared balance in YNAB and has found that they are the same. And since the whole point of reconciliation is making sure your bank balance agrees with your budget balance and these two numbers match perfectly, we can just go ahead and reconcile. Just click looks good and your account is officially reconciled, baby. Howdy y'all, this is future editing Hannah coming at you. Haven't had to do this for a while, but something I forgot to include in this video. If you are a person who uses linked accounts in YNAB, your pop-up could also look like this. It is yellow, and that's because it's telling you, wait, stop, you still have transactions you haven't imported into your budget yet. So import and categorize those first, and then let's go back and try reconciling after. It's just trying to save you a little trouble, a little heartache. But okay, that's all, back to the video. But if the balance pulled from your bank doesn't agree with your balance in YNAB, or you're a YNABer who leaves their accounts unlinked in YNAB, the pop-up you get will look like this when you click reconcile. And in this case, we're gonna follow a different process to reconcile ourselves. You're gonna wanna pull up both YNAB and your bank. You can either do this in two separate browser tabs on your computer, or sometimes I like to pull up my bank app on my phone and my budget on my computer. I've also done this whole process on my phone alone many a time by just swiping back and forth between YNAB and my banking app. Definitely takes way longer that way, but it works if I'm feeling lazy, and that's what matters. So to kick this off, we're gonna start over in your bank account because I wanna show you something. Whenever you swipe a card, let's say your debit card for your checking account, have you ever noticed how that purchase doesn't always immediately show up in your bank account? That's because the bank hasn't approved that transaction yet. Once they do approve it, they clear it as if to say, we've checked this one over and it is good. And then it shows up in your bank transactions. And sometimes that clearing process takes 5 minutes, sometimes it takes 5 days. It's a toss-up. And P.S., the clearing pace also seems to depend on a variety of factors. Some retailers are way fast, some are just slow. Debit card purchases seem to clear a lot faster than credit card purchases. Tons of different factors can affect how quickly or slowly this clearing process happens. So you gotta be patient. Alternatively, you also may notice pending transactions in your bank account. This is where the bank has acknowledged you made this transaction, but they haven't actually cleared it yet. It's just waiting to eventually be cleared and probably will be within a day or two. You'll also notice your general bank account total, and you'll actually probably even notice two. With my bank, I have a current balance and an available balance. The current balance is what I literally have in the bank right now, though your bank may call it the total balance. And the available balance is everything I have in the bank minus any pending transactions that haven't cleared yet. Though your bank might call it something like the spending balance, aka all the money you're still free to spend that's not a pending transaction. Now, other banks may show your cleared balance as the running total, which you'll find next to your most recent cleared transaction. So there's just tons of ways it can show up. Is this clear as mud? Righteous. Now, let's hop over to YNAB and pop into our checking account here. A few things I'll point out. At the top, we have 3 balances: the cleared balance, the uncleared balance, and the working balance. Okay, we've heard some of these words before. The cleared balance represents the sum total of all the transactions that have been officially cleared at the bank. The uncleared balance is the sum total of all the transactions that are just pending at the bank or waiting to be cleared. Or maybe we've swiped our card for it, but it hasn't even shown up at the bank yet. And the working balance is simply the cleared balance minus the uncleared balance, aka the money we for sure have in our bank account that we could comfortably spend right now. I don't know about you, but I'm seeing some similarities here. When we reconcile our budget, the cleared balance is the main number we want to concern ourselves with, although these other 2 numbers can be helpful in pointing us to where there might be an error, so keep that in mind. Now, if you look on the right side of this account register in YNAB, you'll notice these little circled C's, or you may actually see some padlocks instead. We'll get to that later. If the C is white, that is marking the transaction as uncleared. If the C is green, that marks the transaction as cleared. Now, what does it mean to reconcile again? It just means that all the transactions at your bank agree with all the transactions in your budget. So if a transaction is cleared at the bank, we want to make sure it's also cleared in the budget. If it hasn't cleared the bank yet, aka it hasn't shown up yet or it's still pending, then we can still have that transaction in YNAB. We just want to make sure it stays uncleared in the budget. And if we see a transaction in our bank account that we don't see yet in the budget, we need to add that transaction to our budget as well. The goal is literally to just get our budget to reflect our bank account line for line, nothing unaccounted for. If you've never reconciled before, first start by comparing your cleared or current balance at the bank with your cleared balance in YNAB. If it matches down to the penny, you freaking lucked out, my dude. Right away, we can see that these two numbers agree, and we want to record this agreement by clicking reconcile. YNAB's gonna ask one more time just to make sure, is this the cleared or current balance you're seeing at the bank? You're gonna smash yes because it is. And boom, your account's reconciled, my friend. Now, hold up. What happened to our budget? All those transactions, all those little circled C's, they're gone. Yes, they are. And that's because now that they've officially been cleared and approved and reconciled, we don't really need them cluttering up our account register anymore, so YNAB files them all away, out of sight, out of mind. But no fear, if you ever want to see old reconciled transactions, just click the View dropdown and select Show Reconciled Transactions. Not only do they come back to our account register, but now our little green cleared C's have changed to a padlock. This padlock icon symbolizes a reconciled transaction, so we can easily tell which transactions have officially been declared cleared and accurate and approved. And PS, this will happen for all transactions dated prior to the current date. So now our work here is done until the next time. But let's backtrack. What do we do if your current cleared balance at the bank and your cleared balance in YNAB don't agree? Well, now we go into sleuth mode and try to determine either what's missing or what's off about our account register. First, for those of you with linked bank accounts, check to see if you have any new transactions that need to be imported into the budget. There might be a banner at the top telling you that you have new transactions to import, or you'll see a number here next to the import button. If you see either of those, import those little guys, categorize them however you need, and approve them. If your balances still don't match up, let's see if there are any uncleared transactions that need to be cleared. There are two quick ways to do this. First, you can click into the search bar and type is with a colon. From here, you can select is uncleared. This will pull up all the uncleared transactions in this account. A second way to easily locate all the uncleared transactions in your budget is to click the C column header. This will sort all your transactions by cleared versus uncleared. Click this header once or twice until all the uncleared transactions have been brought up to the top of your account register. Now, if you see any transactions that are uncleared in your budget but are cleared at the bank, go ahead and mark those transactions as cleared in your budget as well, because we want them to agree. On the flip side, if you have transactions in YNAB that are still pending at the bank or haven't even showed up at the bank yet, make sure to leave those transactions marked uncleared, because they're uncleared at the bank, so we want them uncleared in our budget, so they agree. Is this starting to make sense? I found this is also where the working balance or the uncleared balance at the top of your YNAB account register might be able to help you identify the issue. If my uncleared balance in YNAB is negative $7.89, and I notice a cleared transaction at the bank for $7.89 at Sonic, I've found my culprit. All I gotta do is mark that Sonic transaction as cleared in YNAB as well, and now they both agree. If after these steps your cleared YNAB balance still doesn't match your current cleared bank balance, my last line of defense is to make sure I haven't left any transactions out of my budget that should have been added already. So I'll look at my most recent bank transaction, find it in YNAB, make sure it's cleared, and I'll check the select box next to the transaction just as a temporary way of marking it found. Then I'll go to the next transaction at the bank, find it in YNAB, make sure it's cleared, and mark it 2 once it's found. And I'll just keep going down my bank account this same way. This is a great way to catch any transactions you might have forgotten to add into the budget, or a way to catch some transaction totals that were entered incorrectly, or maybe even twice. Now, most of the time, these few troubleshooting steps will help you find the missing component, and your cleared balances will eventually match up, allowing you to confidently reconcile. But sometimes we just never find the culprit, and honestly, that's okay. This is not the hill you want to die on, believe me. There's a way we can adjust for the error and just move on guilt-free. Just click reconcile, but this time when it asks, is this the current balance you're seeing at the bank? Just say 100% no, it's not. Help me. From here, just enter your current cleared balance at the bank and click OK. YNAB will make sure you know how much of an adjustment you're about to make, and you can click continue. We see one final message here at the top of our account register asking us to create the adjustment and finish, and YNAB will solve the difference with an adjustment transaction. Now, your current bank account and your budget's cleared balance agree completely, and you know that you can trust your budget again. Next, you'll just want to complete this same process for any other accounts you have. I tend to reconcile my checking, savings, and credit card account every couple days, and every few weeks I'll also reconcile my HSA and my 401k tracking accounts just to make sure everything's up to snuff. And now, you can call it a day. This process might look or sound a little intimidating, but I promise you, you'll get so fast at it. And remember, the less time you let go by between reconciliation sessions, the easier reconciling is, as you're dealing with less transactions and less room for error. The next time you do decide to sit down and reconcile again, you'll only need to be concerned with whatever transactions have occurred between your last reconciliation session and the current day. All past reconciliation transactions will be neatly marked as taken care of with the handy dandy padlock symbol, letting you know you don't need to worry about them. And P.S., if you feel like you reconciled too soon and want to go back, you can always undo any actions you make in the web app until you end your current budgeting session, including reconciliation. Or if you don't notice the mistake until later on in your budgeting session, just reconcile again or delete the reconciliation adjustment transaction. All reconciliation is confirming that everything is correct. So whenever you notice something's incorrect, fix it and re-reconcile. It's maybe not as much of a fancy science as we think it is. But otherwise, from here onward, you just spend and use the budget as normal, knowing you can totally trust your account totals and spend with all the confidence in the world. Now, some helpful tips and questions we see regarding reconciliation. First tip, if you've chosen to link your bank accounts in YNAB as opposed to leaving them unlinked, your transactions will import into your YNAB account as cleared right off the bat, because the bank only imports transactions into YNAB once they've been cleared at the bank. So having linked bank accounts is an easy way to make the reconciliation process much quicker, smoother, and pretty well effortless. Second tip for those of you with linked bank accounts, you can actually enter transactions into YNAB yourself as soon as they happen. You don't actually need to wait for the bank to import that transaction into YNAB for you. When the bank does import the transaction, it will link itself up with the one you entered yourself, because YNAB is very smart like that. However, YNAB will make you approve the linking of the two transactions, just because we firmly believe that you, as the human dealing with your real money, should always have a hand in the process, and the newly linked and approved transaction can now officially enter the budget as cleared. Third tip that isn't really a tip, just a reminder. If you leave your bank accounts unlinked in YNAB, you are the one responsible for making sure you mark transactions as cleared in the budget once they clear at the bank, which honestly isn't a bad thing. For a solid year, honestly maybe more, my credit union had an issue that kept it from connecting to YNAB, so all of my accounts in my budget were unlinked. And I actually found that having unlinked bank accounts led me to reconcile in YNAB way more often than since I've been able to relink my accounts, like almost every day. Only probably a month or so ago was I finally able to reestablish my credit union's connection to YNAB, and I have become far more lazy about reconciling because YNAB does half the work for me and I just don't follow through as often. So do with that little tidbit what you will. As for questions, one of the top ones we see is, can I reconcile an account that has uncleared transactions in it or pending transactions at the bank? And yeah, absolutely you can. Since reconciliation is only concerned with the cleared transactions matching between your bank and your budget, it is totally fine if you have an uncleared transaction or two in your YNAB account register that hasn't hit or cleared the bank yet, or on the flip side, if there are pending transactions at the bank that you haven't entered into your YNAB account yet. Basically, if a transaction isn't cleared yet, it won't be considered for reconciliation, so you only need to concern yourself with cleared transactions, but everything else is allowed to hang out in the budget as long as it's uncleared. In fact, if you do reconcile while uncleared transactions are in your YNAB account register, clicking reconcile will file away all your cleared and reconciled transactions that you don't need to be worried about anymore, and will leave behind only the uncleared transactions in your account register, since you still gotta keep an eye on those bad boys. And remember, you can easily get those reconciled transactions back into view by clicking the View dropdown and selecting Show Reconciled Transactions. Another question we see often, some people worry that they should only reconcile transactions within the month they occurred or before the month is over, but that is false. You can reconcile across any date range, even across multiple months. The dates really don't affect it at all. So if it's July 8th and I haven't reconciled since June 25th, I'll just click into whatever account I want to reconcile and follow this exact same process as if time or dates weren't even a thing. Once I do reconcile, the only transactions I'll need to worry about the next time I reconcile will be from July 8th onward. But now that we've all sat here for 15 minutes, that's officially all I have to say about reconciliation. What other questions might you still have? Tips you'd like to share? Leave them down below and I'll answer whatever I can, or send you to someone smarter who can, because I have my limits, people. Hope you found this video helpful today. You are a budgeting rock star. I am so glad you're here, and I will see you in the next video. It's amazing how fast it gets hot in here. Good Lord. You know what's fun? You had no idea I was wearing these, but I did. The beauty of filming. So tired. I think I just stuttered. I don't really know. And I will stop doing weird things with my hands. She's back. Great, this is going great so far. Woohoo! Potentially be making spending decisions. No.